Very dependent. Again, this is where having a really good doctor is important as well. So I won't work solely by myself in this. It will generally be in combination with a doctor as well. So my advice is not to just take a supplement for the sake of it. Ideally, we want to use food first, but it's very dependent on that baseline level. So if the iron levels are too low, particularly an athlete who's training multiple times a week, it's going to be really, really difficult to get those iron levels back to normal or back to an adequate level with food alone. So we might use a supplement or an infusion to support that process. But the goal is to never be on a supplement for life. So we want to, what the word says is supplement the diet, and then ideally try and maintain adequate sort of vitamin, mineral levels and nutrient levels moving forward with food alone. It's going to be much better, much more cost effective, going to absorb vitamins and minerals from food much more effectively, generally. And there's a number of supplements on the market that are absolutely useless. So I think the less sort of things people can take, the better. And ideally just using food first. And that's not only from a health perspective, but definitely a performance perspective as well. So if you're low iron, generally you're going to be quite fatigued and unable to train at the level that you're hoping for.
So all those multivitamin ads you see on the TV, they're just an expensive lolly?
Generally, well, I wish they were a lolly, but no, generally they, the doses aren't correct as well. So, and also keeping in mind that there's nutrient interactions going on as well. So what I mean by that is calcium and iron inhibit the absorption of each other. So in a multivitamin, there's going to be a number of different vitamins and minerals added to that may inhibit the absorption of each other. So it could just be a complete waste of money. Often the doses are either too low or too high. And as I said, some of them aren't even being absorbed properly because they've got a combination of different vitamins or minerals in that one tablet that actually inhibit each other from absorbing properly. So if required, I like to individually dose. So we might, if we both needed both calcium and iron as a supplement, I wouldn't be taking them at the same time. We would be timing that over the day so that we're optimizing the absorption as much as possible. Whereas a multivitamin, it's very much useless in my mind.
Food, you're saying, has a better absorption rate than just supplementing alone. So is it quite hard to change someone's diet to incorporate those specific vitamins? No,
generally quite straightforward actually. And again, that's the benefit of working with a health professional and a dietitian specifically, because we're going to have an understanding of how to improve the absorption of certain vitamins and minerals. So for example, iron needs vitamin C to improve the absorption. So for example, if you were having a meat-based dish that was high in iron, we would try and include some sort of vitamin C rich food with it as well. So tomatoes, for example, would be, so a meat with a tomato-based sauce would improve the absorption of the iron in the meat, or the red meat, I should say. So there's things like that we can run people through and just make sure that they're getting the most out of their food rather than having to rely on a tablet or a pill. And a greens powder is a perfect example of a supplement that people use thinking it's going to help them, but often the ingredients or the vitamins and minerals in greens powder may not be even shelf stable. So for example, if vitamin C is exposed to sunlight, it generally won't be absorbed very well. So having a greens powder that's been sitting there, it's been highly processed into powder form, often we're actually absorbing the nutrition from it compared to actually going and eating an orange, for example.
Just because something's a healthy colour doesn't mean it's actually good for you.
No, yeah. And ideally trying to always use food first as an approach. Sometimes there's very good reason for a supplement, but I find blended products generally, and what I mean by that is there's multiple ingredients in there. I find generally they're not in the correct doses, and they're often just marketed very, very well to provide benefit, whereas just eating that particular food is going to provide much more benefit. We're also going to get a lot more fibre from eating a whole fruit or vegetable than we will from a powder form as well. And ideally, hopefully it will taste a lot better than having a greens powder or something equivalent.